for it. Cam to Calvin.
Hey, tighten up, chat. Tighten up, man. Tighten up, chat.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, run.
What's up, everyone? The Titans have just 7 cuts left to make before they get to 53 as of the start of this live recording / live stream. Welcome everyone in to the Music City Audible Live, MCA Live, presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, the Titans roster news is flying fast and furious, and you have been a big part of it. How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Just kind of keeping my head on a swivel here. You're going to see me looking at my phone pretty much the whole time, guys. But really excited. It's been a hell of a day. I mean, I've been at it for hours. It's been nonstop. So always appreciate getting good news as opposed to bad news. You know, looking for these guys to make it. But I'm reporting everything as it comes.
Yeah, that's great. And you're going to have to be on your phone. I might have to look away at my other screen here for a moment, but that's part of doing a live podcast, Justin, coming to our Music City Audible fans, listeners, audience in the middle of a Tuesday. Abnormal for us, but we are happy to be here. This Joey Turner wants to know if we're live to talk about the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift engagement. I mean, we weren't going to, but we could if you have a comment on it as we just wait for some people to fill up the stream here.
Oh, if you mention Taylor Swift, I'll make sure you're never doing well again. That's probably the best one I've seen so far. I think I'll start with what has surprised me. And I'll be honest, Graver, not a whole lot has. I think probably the only one that has is James Proche. You know, I think that's the one that we were fully expecting to make it. And then, you know, we figured Mason Kinsey was going to be cut. We had pretty good idea that Xavier Restrepo was going to be cut. When those two came out first, I thought, okay, Proche he's got to make it, right, as the seventh. And then just a couple minutes later, it was I think it was one of the ESPN guys, I think, who put out that Proche had been cut. That does surprise me. In the chat, how many cuts left? I don't have the exact number. Graver,
7.
Yeah,
7 left.
Left. Not a lot. So we're still waiting to hear. I mean, I think some of them are pretty obvious, right? Like,
here's where things stand right now as I put this on screen. If you're just listening back to a recorded version of this, so 7 of Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, Andrew Rupsich, Timmy Horn, Isaiah Rakes, Jalen Harrell, Ali Gay, Brian Asamoah, Blake Lynch, Gabe Judy-Lally, and Amani Oruwariye. That's 10. 7 of those 10 guys will not make the team. I think we might get only 4 defensive tackles. If we get a 5th, it's probably Timmy Horn. Maybe Isaiah Rakes, just because he hasn't gotten the news yet. Could be that guy, but we'll see. We expect one of Jalen Harrell or Ali Gay to make it in the edge room, even if it's just a placeholder for a future waiver claim. Curtis Jacobs, Paul Kaharski has reported, made the team. So one of Brian Asamoah or Blake Lynch could be a 5th linebacker. I'd expect both of those guys to not make it. And then at cornerback, Gabe Judy-Lally and Amani Oruwariye have not gotten news yet. So there's a chance that one of them, probably if I had to pick, it would be Gabe Judy-Lally, makes it. I mean, it could be a defensive tackle, an edge, and a cornerback, and then the other cuts are the remaining 7 guys.
Yeah, a lot of these are either-or situations, right? Like, you know, Gabe Judy-Lally or Amani Oruwariye, Timmy Horn or Isaiah Rakes, right? Like one of them are going to be cut. Maybe both of Brian Asamoah and Blake Lynch at linebacker, since Paul Kuharski had mentioned that Curtis Jacobs was still in the mix there. So waiting on these final 7 because like they got a lot of linemen. They're going to cut at least 2 of those linemen, I think, right? Because like Andrew Rupsich and Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon are still hanging around there. Then you got Ali Udo, John Ajoku. Like they can't keep all 4 of those guys. There's no chance.
That's what I'm saying. I think so they have 10 players left and they need to cut 7. I think the 3 that don't get cut, one's a DT, one's an edge, one's a corner.
Yeah. Good point. That's great math on your part there. So, but yeah, the one that got me going, I don't even think I finished my point, was James Proche. I thought he was going to be the starting punt returner in week 1. I'll be honest, I kind of still think he's going to be like, if
Me
they
too.
add him back to the practice squad, they're just going to elevate him those first couple of games. And then I hate to say it this way, but these things take care of themselves, right? Like someone's going to get hurt at some point, and they're just going to add him to the 53, right? Like it doesn't have to be a receiver. It could be somewhere else. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm still going like Easton Freeze posted a great clip on Twitter today, and he posted it when it happened. Him asking Bones Fossil, the special teams coordinator, flat out, "Are you comfortable with Chimere Dike being the punt returner?" And he starts the answer with no. I mean, it doesn't get pretty more telltale than that. And remember, I mean, maybe we'll cover it at some point, but Tajay Spears goes on IR, so that kind of takes him out of that mix. Chimere Dike would probably be next guy up as well. So we'll see what happens there. But for me, I still think Proche makes this week 1 roster as an elevation. If he chooses, right? Maybe he's pissed off and goes up. Maybe he's got a 53-man roster opportunity elsewhere. In that case, he's going to take that because of the money difference. That's a no-brainer. But typically, if he gets a practice squad opportunity elsewhere, guys tend to want to stick where they are. So we'll see what happens. But that's a big one.
Important notes on Proche. First of all, he is going into his 6th season, so he is not subject to waivers, which means he cannot be claimed, which means he can choose his next destination, whether that's the Titans practice squad. This could also be like a yo-yo maneuver for the Titans to boot him off the 53 for now, and then on Thursday, who knows, maybe he's back and somebody else is off that they want to get on the practice squad, but they're keeping them on the roster now so they don't get scooped up. There's a lot of things that could be going on, but I fully agree with you that I think Proche, I tweeted this like an hour ago, that I think Proche is going to be the punt returner when the season starts. And whether that's so that you can get Chimere Dike some extra time and reps in practice before you have to count on him, or if it's to your point that these things tend to work themselves out and there will be a roster spot for Proche after a couple of weeks, that it could go either of those directions. So I definitely think this was the most surprising cut. As we said on our last pod, like, everyone in Titans media, it was consensus that they were just going to keep 7 guys and that Proche would be the 7th. And, every time that came up on this show, you and I sort of said, well, wait a sec. There's no guarantee they keep 7 receivers here. And they end up only keeping 6. Those 6 guys were pretty obvious: Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, Elikai Manor, Chimere Dike, Bryce Oliver. Every other receiver.
I'm still waiting on the Bryce Oliver confirmation. I'm pretty damn convinced, but I think that confirmation is going to come through here at some point. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I wanted to note that. Saw a good question in the chat. Is there can they do it every game? Elevate Proche? No, you've got a maximum of 4 elevations is the rule there. So they would do it maybe weeks 1 to 4, and then they'd have to elevate him to the 53 in week 5 if they want to keep him there.
Let's talk about Xavier Restrepo because he wasn't a surprising cut. Oh, never mind. We have breaking news. We'll come back to this. Ali Gay just got cut. I need to update my little graphic here.
Isaiah Rakes
Isaiah Rakes as well. Okay, that means there are 5 cuts to go. That's a good sign, although it doesn't necessarily mean anything. For Timmy Horn in the defensive tackle room, for Jalen Harrell in the edge room, you did say on our roster projection that you thought Jalen Harrell had an outside shot to make this team, at least as a placeholder while waivers process. So that's a brief update there. I don't think there's anything too surprising about it, but it sort of brings the picture into a bit clearer focus. Here's a good question, and this is sort of this was going to be to my Restrepo point. Can Trey Palmer return kicks? So Trey Palmer is a wide receiver that the Buccaneers had drafted, and they waived him today. Look, Xavier Restrepo, because this question was, where is Xavier Restrepo going to land next? Or I'm interested to see where Restrepo lands next. Restrepo's going to land on the Titans practice squad. Like, I am 0% concerned that he's going to get claimed off of waivers. And the Trey Palmer point was to say that, like, there are better receivers hitting the waiver wire today than Xavier Restrepo, an undrafted free agent, slow, undersized rookie who wasn't, obviously wasn't coveted in the draft process, or he would have been drafted, and hasn't done anything in the league. There are guys that have been released today or yesterday or waived or whatever that teams are just going to want more than they want Xavier Restrepo. So I have literally no concern that Restrepo won't be back on the practice squad. Am I crazy?
No, I think there's more than likely than not he is back on the practice squad. Undrafted rookies, they almost never get claimed by someone else. You haven't had the chance to have him in the room. You haven't developed him, training camp, all that stuff. So for me, I'd be pretty shocked if Xavier Restrepo landed elsewhere.
Hey, talk for a few minutes about what else is going on, Justin, because I have something to tend to really quickly. Live TV, folks!
I'm trying to get some news here as well, so bear with me. Why don't we take a couple of questions while I'm working the phone as well? You guys got some questions? Fire some questions off, and I will answer. Jalen is definitely a candidate. He hasn't done anything. They're gonna have to churn. Yeah, I mean, waiting to confirm. There's no guarantee, but with Ali Gay being waived, it seems like Jalen Harrell's going to be on the initial 53. Now that's a spot we expect them to churn through the waiver wire, right? So I that's one that I would continue watching, but waiting to hear on Jalen Harrell. Enrique, good one there. How long does Curtis Jacobs stay here? I'm going to guess not very long. I think linebacker is one of those spots where they are going to make a claim, I would imagine. And we're still waiting on Brian Asamoah as well. Haven't heard on either of those linebackers yet. So let's see what happens with Asamoah. Sounds like Jacobs is safe per PK, but we will see what happens there. Quickly on Damian Martinez, realistic claim? No, I don't think so. I know tempting to reunite Cam Ward with Damian Martinez, but what I was just saying about UDFAs, I mean, usually they stick with where they are. I imagine Damian Martinez ends up on the Seattle practice squad, and I would be pretty shocked if he got claimed. Sorry, these questions are coming in fast and furious. Can Trey Palmer return kicks? He's got a little experience, I believe, on punts. I don't know so much about kicks. And anyway, I think that's the one you're going to watch is on punts. I think the Titans like the options they have at kick returner. So at punt, Trey Palmer has done it a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. Trey Palmer is a guy that's intriguing, but I don't think the Titans are going to claim a receiver. I think they're pretty good with presumably the 6 that they have. Graver, I don't know, are you back, Graver? Do you want to highlight some of these? Okay, you're not back. What about the Giants tight end? Yeah, I think, Greg Dulcich you're referring to, Jacob. I think low priority tight end. It's within the realm of possibility, but I think they like David Martin Robinson as well. So we'll see about tight end. But for me, I don't know. Chris, what's up, Melo? Great work today as always. Thank you so much. Any of your draft crushes you saw as a fit for the Titans that were cut? I mean, I don't think any of these UDFAs that the Titans have are even going to make the roster. I think the only one kicking around right now is Brendan Crenshaw Dixon, and that's with them having 12 linemen as of right now. So we'll see. Do you think the Titans go after Smith Marset as a kick? No, I mean, he wouldn't be on my list. I think the Titans could do a lot better than Amir Smith Marset. So I'm going to scroll up here and see if I can get a couple more of these questions. Yes, we will get the list back up at some point here.
Yes, here it is. I am back. This is updated with the Ali Gay and Isaiah Rakes. Wait, did I cut it off? No, it looks good, right? It looks good, right?
Yeah, I can see it here. I mean,
okay. Updated with Isaiah Rakes and Ali Gay. Has anything else happened in the last couple of minutes while I was distracted?
No, there has not. I'll tell you this. This was someone asked a good question. UDFA is that bad, or is the standard getting higher? No, I think the reality is that it's bad. I think this was a really bad UDFA class by the Titans. This is a bad Titans roster.
Well, let me just stop you right there before you go on, and I'll let you go on in a second. But this is a bad back end of the players entering the NFL in 2025 because there were a lot of guys that got an extra COVID year that ended up going back to school, or there's NIL reasons for underclassmen to go back to school. There's just this particular class of players had many fewer underclassmen. So you still have to fill up all 252 or however many draft picks there are. And then you still have, giant UDFA classes. But at the end of it, like the players simply aren't as good because there aren't as many players entering the league this year. So the Titans were definitely, a team that was affected by that with their UDFA class, but it's sort of an NFL league-wide thing. Sure, there'll be a few UDFAs that make rosters around the league, but it's not going to be everywhere. And then to your point, the Titans roster is bad already.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think you're letting them off the hook a little too much. Like, the fact that this is a bad Titans roster tells me UDFA should have made it or should have been able to make it. And I don't think one did. Like, unless we get Brendan Crenshaw Dixon, which we're still waiting to hear. But again, like, that's with Brendan Crenshaw Dixon and Andrew Upchurch, they got 12 linemen right now. Like, I think those guys are probably not going to make it. So not one UDFA we're expecting on this Titans roster. To me, that's a bad class. And they tried like hell to find a cornerback to make it, right? Like, they tried like hell to find a cornerback. They had like 6 or 7 corners. They didn't keep any of them, and all of them were terrible. So a bad class. Job not well done, in my opinion, there on the UDFA.
Here's a question. Audric Estime, the running back that the Broncos team and fans were very excited about, feels like a very short time ago, was waived. Yeah, he fits the mold of what they've described themselves as looking for, a power short yardage back to complement Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. They did draft a player they believe to be able to fill that role in Kalel Mullings. Look, Estime has been a disappointment. There's a reason the Broncos waived him. It's not like the Broncos have a stacked running back room. I know they drafted R.J. Harvey this year, but it's not like they have the best. It's not like they have 4 incredible backs and that Estime is just the victim of being in a crowded room. Like, if the Broncos are letting him go, there's a reason they're letting him go. And I don't think he's been particularly impressive since he came into the league. So I'm out on Estime. I feel like a lot of Titans beat writers and media people this morning were tweeting like, oh, this should be a priority claim for the Titans. Like, I'm not so sure. Where do you fall on Estime?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, short yardage guy, they've got a Kalel Mullings. They've got Kalel Mullings, right, who's been banged up, but sorry, just give me a moment here.
Sure. Sorry, folks. Live TV. Justin's trying to break news. There's 5 cuts to be made. Did you just break something?
Well, I'm going with strong indication. I know people probably expect it, but strong indication that Chestnut has made it. I just got a strong indication right now that that's the case. So which doesn't shock me. Doesn't shock me one bit. So. Sorry, was there a question you wanted me to answer, Graver?
I don't know. You were sort of talking about Audric Estime, but you were extremely distracted, so I don't know if you were actually using your brain.
With Chestnut there, and we think Mullings is safe. With Mullings safe, I just can't imagine that they're going to bring in a similar guy, right? Like that's a short yardage guy. That's what Audric Estime is, right? Like he's a short yardage. Not very multifaceted. He's a goal line guy. They went and tried to get that, in the draft via Kalel Mullings. So,
any other players that have been, cropping up on Twitter today as being waived? If you guys have seen any in the chat, you want to drop and ask us if we think they'd be a good fit. Justin, if you've seen anybody, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but has there been any other potential claims that we've seen come free today? I know the Saints released a former high draft pick on the defensive line. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was Isaiah Foskey, who they released now, who was an early pick, but really hasn't done anything at all. The one name that has struck me so far, and the Titans can't claim him, they'd have to sign him in free agency, but it's Marlon. I'm going to butcher this, but Marlon Tuipulotu. That's how you pronounce that. It's Tuipulotu. It is the defensive tackle that was cut by the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, remember, they traded for Derek Nottie the other day, so they had a hole there at D tackle. They had to create a hole at D tackle. They released Marlon, who, by the way, was with Mike Borgonzi last year in Kansas City, and also played for Denard Wilson with the Philadelphia Eagles a couple years ago. So a lot of ties, in my opinion, between the Titans and Marlon. So I think they're going to claim. You've got one. They're going to claim.
We got breaking news from Paul Kaharski. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon has made the initial 53-man roster. That puts them at 11 offensive linemen we expect, because we've heard Ojukwu and Oli Udo both made the roster as well. We're assuming Blake Hance made the roster. If he did, and Jackson Slater as well, that would be 11 offensive linemen. Presumably, that would mean Andrew Rupsich will not make the team. However, we're not ruling anything out here, because a lot of people in Titans media had them keeping 4 running backs and had them keeping 7 receivers. The Titans are only keeping 3 running backs because Tajay Spears is on IR. They've only kept 6 receivers. That presumably opens 2 roster spots to be used at another position. Would they be crazy enough to keep 12 offensive linemen on the initial 53?
I mean, 12 is an insane number. I mean, if you're going to cut one anyway tomorrow for a waiver claim, I guess it makes no difference. But you know, I guess we'll see. But it makes no difference if you're going to cut one. If you're going to cut one on Wednesday, but that really does shock me. I've seen a couple of notes here.
Here, I wanted to get to this comment. This is a good question that I want to respond to from Derek. The working dynamic between Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi is problematic. Chad has the final say over personnel decisions, which gives Mike little ability to shape the roster as he prefers. Okay, guys, let's be real here. You think that Chad Brinker is in an office by himself coming up with a roster construction, and Mike Borgonzi is in a different office coming up with his own version of the roster, and they're not communicating about how they're going to build this roster? Come on. They're in a giant meeting room. They're meeting with all the position coaches, and Callahan, of course, is included in this. They're talking through all of these decisions together. Final say is a tiebreaker type of deal. It's not about Brinker sees the roster built one way, which doesn't allow Mike Borgonzi to build the roster his way. No, these guys are working in direct collaboration. Brinker hired Borgonzi because he thinks that they have similar ways of viewing football. Obviously, we've seen relationships deteriorate over time, even when we were told at the initial outset that both people love working with each other. But these two guys are still at the beginning. Like, even if this relationship isn't going to last, we don't know what the future holds. Right now, they should still be working together pretty damn well. So I think it's kind of silly to even think about the fact that, because Brinker has final say, that means Borgonzi doesn't have control. No, Borgonzi's making moves. Brinker's signing off on them. If they disagree on something, it's likely that they're able to talk it out. If they absolutely can't talk it out, that's where final say comes in, and Chad Brinker is the tiebreaker. But this is nothing more than that. Did you see another question, Justin?
Yeah, I wanted to call someone out. I'm sorry. I don't. Sometimes I like doing this, but who said Malachi Corley? I mean, give me a damn break. I mean, they get cut by the Jets after 1 year of being a third-round pick or whatever he was. Like, he dropped the ball short of the end zone. Not a chance in hell the Titans are touching Malachi Corley. I mean, he's really a terrible, terrible. Kobe Bryant, I mean, he's a rookie UDFA, right, if I recall. I doubt it. Like, they're going to look for someone experienced at corner. It's not going to be someone – it's going to be guys that surprise you. How about, like, someone like Nick Neiman, who the Texans cut at linebacker, who I believe is a vested veteran, but has played a ton of special teams throughout his career. Like, we talked about Curtis Jacobs, the linebacker, being a placeholder. When they look to replace a guy like that, I think it's going to be with a veteran who's played a lot of special teams. So Nick Neiman in Houston was one that caught my eye big time. So guys like him, Marlon Tuipulotu, the D-tackle cut from Kansas City, who I said. Again, Kobe's a rookie corner. I think they're going to look for experience there. I don't think they're going to bring in another young corner. They've got enough of those especially rookie and Marcus Harris on that team. So, what
about DeMarvin Leal?
Hasn't done a damn thing, and I think there was attitude issues there. D-tackle, the Steelers cut. I think, again, Timmy Horn might be the placeholder there, but I think they look elsewhere at D-tackle.
Here's an interesting comment from Hayden about Andrew Rupsich, who was, as he correctly points out here, the starting right guard during the first week of the preseason while Blake Hance was still dealing with injury. Remember, Kevin Zeitler didn't play that game. Blake Hance was out with something. So I don't necessarily think this was Andrew Rupsich starting over Blake Hance. I think this was Andrew Rupsich was the next guy up because Jackson Slater had never played an NFL snap.
I've got one here. They're waiving Andrew Rupsich.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, Hayden. The Titans are waiving Andrew Rupsich. That means we have 4 cuts to go. Justin, if we just go ahead and project that they're going to keep 5 defensive tackles and 5 edge rushers, which, look, it's not a guarantee, but I think we're going to safely assume it for the purposes of this exercise. That would mean out of the... Wait, they have to cut... How many more did I say? 4, 3, live television, folks. How many more did I just say 2 seconds ago? 4 more?
I think it's 4 more. I think we're down to 4 more. I think we're down to 4 more.
So I'm thinking that would mean the last 4 are going to be Brian Asamoah, Blake Lynch, Gabe Judy-Lally, and Amani Oruwariye. The alternatives are Timmy Horn and Jalen Harrell, who, if both of those or either of those guys get cut, they're going to be fairly light, either at DT or edge, which would indicate a waiver claim is coming. But yeah, there's only 6 players left on the roster, and 4 of them are going to get cut. I can put up an updated roster graphic here if you give me 1 second. We're coming down to the nitty-gritty. We'll see if we're still on the stream when this is finally finalized, but there is a chance that this happens within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Here is the most recent look at the Titans roster with Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson making the team, Andrew Rupsich not making the team. We still have these 4 unbolded players. And look, the guys in bold aren't necessarily guaranteed. Like I have Mike Brown in bold, but we are projecting that Mike Brown will make it at this point with the other 3 safeties in that room cut. At linebacker, I could see them keeping 4. We were told, again, if you missed it earlier, Paul Kaharski reported that Curtis Jacobs has made the team. So I would guess that obviously there's 4 cuts left to make. There's 6 players extra left on the roster. I'm guessing both of these linebackers are gone, Asamoah and Blake Lynch. And I would honestly guess both corners are gone before I guessed that Timmy Horn and Jalen Harrell were gone. Are you on the same page as me?
Sorry, the very last sentence you said. Let's say that one again.
I'm expecting that it would be more likely the 2 remaining linebackers and 2 remaining corners are gone than it is that both Timmy Horn and Jalen Harrell are gone, because then they'd only have 4 defensive tackles and 4 edge players.
So how many cuts do they have to make still?
4 out of 6 players.
4 out of the 6 here. Yeah, I would guess 2 of the linebackers, 1 of the corners, and where am I missing? There's one more surprise then, isn't there?
Yeah, it's either unless they cut both corners and then they keep
both corners and
they keep Harrell and Timmy Horn,
or make the waiver. They could cut both corners or Harrell. That's the option. I think we're getting down to. That's the option. I think they're going to cut either one or the other.
I had another question, but Devin asks, 3 tight ends is a light tight end room, don't you think? Not really. No, 3 tight ends is normal, especially if they get 1 or 2 of these guys back on the practice squad. I would expect Dabney is probably a practice squad target. Odakoya still has an exemption if they bring him on the practice squad, although I don't know that they will based on your reporting yesterday, Justin. But 3 tight ends is a totally normal number of tight ends. Last year was insane when they kept 5 tight ends. And here, Justin, this is a question for you. Chances that John Ojukwu was only kept as a potential trade piece with all of the O-line trade movement happening?
I don't think so. If they're keeping John Ojukwu, I think it's because they like him in that role. I was surprised they didn't trade Jalen Duncan. I mean, I broke that news when they waived him. I thought for sure they would probably get something for Duncan. I think because they actually value Ojukwu and what he brings to the table, I think they're going to keep him, period. I don't think they get rid of him. It would qualify as a surprise for me. And Crenshaw-Dickson, the way I'm reading into this, I feel terrible saying it, and this is not a source. I'm just reading into it. But tackle depth is a rarity around the NFL. My guess is they like him as a developmental guy. They're not keeping 12 linemen, right? There's just no way in hell that they're doing that. So,
well, they have 11.
I have a feeling, I'm sorry? Oh, sorry.
They have 11 now.
11 is too many. They're not keeping 11 in week 1. So I think they're just trying to hide Crenshaw-Dickson another day. I think they cut him tomorrow, make a claim. If they went light somewhere at corner, linebacker, D tackle, we're figuring that out right now. I think they think waiting an extra day to make that move even further decreases his chances of getting claimed, and then they can get him, increase their chances of getting him back on the practice squad. So for me, there's going to be one more move coming. We know they're going to make multiple claims tomorrow. One of those tackles is going to get cut. My guess if it's the 11 we think it is, it's either Crenshaw, Dixon, or Ollie Udo that gets cut. That would still be a bit of a surprise if it's Udo, but sometimes go with the younger guy to keep on the 53, right? So one of those guys is getting cut. I don't think it's Ojukwu or Blake Hance. I think those are the two that are safe.
I kind of like this theory that they're just going to carry 11 offensive linemen because tackle depth is weak, and if they cut any of them, they risk losing them because you're seeing teams, as was mentioned in this question, teams all over the league are sending out 6th and 7th round picks to grab a third offensive tackle. Like, the Titans have technically an extra roster spot, quote unquote extra, for 4 weeks while Tajay Spears is on injured reserve. And they could, instead of having a 4th running back on the roster, they could elevate someone from the practice squad for those 4 weeks and keep an 11th offensive lineman on the active roster. Justin, what do you think of Isaiah Simmons, who was released today by Green Bay? Obviously never lived up to his draft billing. Is he someone that could help the Titans linebacker room?
No, I don't think so. I think Simmons hasn't really developed into what you hoped he would. Again, when they look at a linebacker, I think it's going to be a guy that can help on special teams, a veteran player. They've got some youth with Cedric Gray and James Williams. I almost think they round out that room with an older guy, And I don't think it'll be Curtis Jacobs. There'll be something out there better. Do you think they sign a veteran edge? Good question, Rocky. I mean, there's guys out there, right? Zadarius Smith. It was reported today that contending teams are checking in with Zadarius Smith. So maybe that's not the Titans. We'll see. But
Easton Freeze,
Jadeveon Clowney.
Easton Freeze hinted strongly that the Titans were out on Zadarius Smith, and I'm guessing he is doing that with intel that he got. He didn't say it outright. He didn't tell us behind the scenes, but I do feel like based on the way Easton tweeted about Smith, that Smith is probably not in the cards. But I still think, there was that report, I guess it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago now, that the Titans were interested in Preston Smith. As you just said, Jadeveon Clowney's still out there. Like, I would kind of expect them to go sign a veteran edge, especially if they end up cutting Jalen Harrell, which is still TBD. If they keep Jalen Harrell, then they probably cut him when they sign a veteran edge. So yes, my answer to that is yes. It's not 100%. I would say I'm like a 7 out of 10 confidence that they sign a veteran edge. Please make sure to repost the Mason Kinsey tweet in the coming days. Is that a tweet that Kinsey himself tweeted, or are you talking about the meme that everyone's running around of?
I think Mason Kinsey tweeted the meme himself.
He did, without the bottom panel where he's back in the bar behind the, what's his name from The Simpsons. How many players are kept on the practice squad? The Titans can keep 16 on their practice squad. They do get an International Pathway Player Program exemption if they keep Thomas Odukoya as well. So he would allow them to keep 17. If he is not on the practice squad, they will keep 16. And it's TBD if all 16 are going to come from the roster that has been in training camp with the Titans, or if there are guys around the league who, they get cut by their team, they get offered to come back on the practice squad, but they see a path to playing time faster in Nashville. Maybe they decide to come join the Titans practice squad. We will react to the practice squad with its own podcast as soon as we have a chance to do so. But a lot of the guys that are being cut today have a pretty strong chance of being back on the practice squad, whereas the guys that were cut yesterday, we're assuming that they were at the bottom of the roster and not a priority to bring back, and that's why they shook out the way that they did chronologically. It seems with such a young go ahead.
Sorry, quickly. A couple of guys, and I'll be breaking lots of practice squad news tomorrow, so make sure you're following along with me. But a couple of guys that I think are probably, good bets. None of these are confirmed, never guarantee, but I think a guy like, of course, Restrepo, who we talked about. Some of the less talked about ones, I think Carlos Watkins has a good shot. Cam Horsley, I think Kendall Brooks has a good shot. A couple of these guys, I think one of the running backs for sure, either Jordan Mims or Jamar Jefferson. I think one of the tight ends. Don't be surprised if it's Drake Dabney, on the practice squad out of the tight ends over Josh Whyle or Thomas Udukoya. I'm sure maybe another D tackle, Isaiah Rakes, I could definitely see. If one of these linemen get cut, like a Brendan Crenshaw Dixon, although if they do cut him tomorrow, they can't re-add him to the practice squad tomorrow, right? They'll have to wait a bit longer for that. Maybe Rupsich if he's interested in sticking around. But they've got some good in-house candidates, in my opinion, for the practice squad.
Yeah, I think Rupsich and Trevor Siemian, I'm not sure if you mentioned Trevor Siemian, is probably kept just to have that third quarterback. Rocky responded to you, Justin. He goes to Western Kentucky. That's why he said Malachi Corley. He didn't realize he's been bad in the NFL. Does that say Daddy or Dottie asking us if we like adding DeMarcus Walker again?
I would love it. I wish they would have already done it. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen because you would think it would have happened by now. I think it's exactly what they need. Played really well next to Jeffrey. Exactly. They could use a better rusher than him, but realistically, played really well next to Jeffrey Simmons a couple of years ago. Remember, he had like 7 sacks that one year, and I think he parlayed that into like a big contract with the Chicago Bears. So I wish they'd bring him back. He's got good chemistry with Jeffrey Simmons. He's a big body too, so he's kind of pretty good against stopping the run early. But, that one would make a lot of sense. I wish they would have done it by now.
Yeah, me too. All right, we're going to put out a last call for questions here. It would be nice if we got 4 more cuts here, but we are going to wind this thing down now, and we will be back tomorrow to react to the initial final 53-man roster. Okay, here's one last question, Justin, maybe, unless we get a few more. Kenyon Green traded from the Texans to the Eagles earlier this offseason, I believe, for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is injured, and Kenyon Green has been cut.
Now you're trying to piss me off. One of the worst NFL offensive linemen I've watched in recent memory. One of the biggest first-round busts. Ask yourself this. If the legendary O-line coach in Philadelphia, Jeff Stoutland, couldn't fix Kenyon Green, why would they want him here? He is truly, truly terrible. Not a chance. I hope not. It would be a horrible mistake if they brought in Kenyon Green. Will waiver claims be announced earlier or wait till the usual time? More than likely the usual time, unless one of the sources, an agent feeds it to like a Tom Pelissero and it leaks early. But chances are you're going to get all the waiver claims at like 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Say that again. Sorry, you cut out a little bit.
Chances are you're going to get all the waiver claims at the deadline, like 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow. Kick the tires on Asante Samuel Jr. Charlie, I don't know if you saw the news earlier today, but that injury is so serious. He's apparently going to have a scan to check up on it in October and then sign with a team during the second half of the season if he gets the green light. So I'm a big fan of Asante Samuel Jr. when he's healthy. I think was a great cornerback. He has a back fusion. Good call on that one. Maybe eventually, but obviously not now. Jalen Mills, I think they're going to add a veteran cornerback. He might be as good as any. I wouldn't rule him out, but I don't have any inclination that that's something that they're going to do. I just think maybe he would be on a list of I do think they're going to bring in a veteran corner at some point. Did I miss the question? Is Odukoya coming back as a practice squad exemption, or is he gone? I'm going to word this very loosely, but I don't expect him back there. I think maybe that's a situation where both parties could potentially be interested in just parting ways. But TP, give me Kenyon Green and Isaiah. That's the one that already got me upset.
Yeah.
I don't want to get upset at him all over again, but I hate those recommendations, so no.
Someone called you Melon. How does it make you feel to be Melon?
You know what? That's totally fine. That's fine. I'll take it. Any other questions here? I think there were some other questions. 11 million from the Bears. No daddy. Brando. I feel awkward just saying. I think it was 7 million for DeMarcus Walker. What he got. How many players on the practice squad? What is it, Graver? Like 17?
We just did that one. Yeah, 16, 17 if they keep Odukoya. Mike has been a converted safety for the past 5 years. His cornerback days are well behind him. Who is this? Mike Hilton? Who are we talking about?
Someone say something about Mike. Mills. Jalen Mills. No, he said Jalen Mills. That was in
Mills, not Mike. Sorry, I can't read.
Question about Mills at corner. So we're just waiting for a couple of more things to come through here.
So here's how I'll sum it up here as we, I guess we're going to get ready to wind this thing down here. I don't know if these last 4 cuts are going to come in. I would guess there are. I mean, I'm not guessing here. There are 2 spots left on the Titans roster, and I would guess that those 2 spots are coming down to Timmy Horn, Jalen Harrell, and Gabe Judy Lawley. I would guess that the 2 linebackers left. Here, I'll put up that graphic again.
Yeah, I guess you got Blake Hance as a lock.
I have Blake Hance as a lock. Yeah, I do. I mean, I would be shocked. He started the last preseason game with Cam Ward. I would be shocked if Blake Hance.
It's a little weird as the 11 linemen still. That makes it like somewhat questionable, but I don't think he got cut either. I think there's no way that Blake Hance got cut.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's Timmy Horn, Jalen Harrell, Gabe Judy Lawley. 2 of those 3 make the team. Both of the remaining linebackers, Brian Asamoah and Blake Lynch, I would say they're probably cut. Amani Oruwariye, I would say, is probably cut. So that's what we're waiting for, is to find out which of those 3 guys, which 2 of those 3 guys made the team, and then we will have it. We'll have the initial set, final, not final at all, 53-man roster, Justin, that is probably going to undergo many changes. I think when Easton was on the show last week, he said up to a 1/6 of this roster could be turned over after the deadline passes to cut down to 53. So that will be very interesting to follow. Looks like we got maybe one more comment in here. Who are you guys cutting for the initial final roster? Who are your last 4 out? Yeah, I mean, I would say if it was up to me, I'm probably keeping Timmy Horn and Gabe Judy Lawley. But ultimately, like, these last 3 spots or these last 2 spots, I should say, are the last 2 spots for a reason. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if any of these guys were kept. It wouldn't shock me if they were the first ones released for a waiver claim in the coming days. So I honestly don't know if it matters. Like, this sort of feels like the final 51-man roster that I projected, Justin.
Yeah, like if I had put up the roster, and I'll say this right now, and I think that I'm going to be bang on. So I think we got 2 spots to make it, right?
Right.
I go Timmy Horn and Gabe Judy Lawley. I think both of them, though, are released tomorrow for waiver claims at those respective positions, DT and corner.
Yep.
I've got Curtis Jacobs waived at linebacker for a spot at linebacker. I've got Jalen Harrell waived at edge for an edge. That's 4 right there, right? And
yeah, well, you didn't.
There's one more, and that's Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. So I'm predicting officially they make. I don't know what spot that is because it won't be a lineman. It could be another corner. It could be another edge. It could be a running back if there's a number thing there. It could be a tight end if they want to go heavier. But
hang on, Justin.
Yeah,
you've actually got to waive one more person if you want to make a 5th claim, because you just said you'd cut Jalen Harrell right now and that you'd have Timmy Horn and Gabe Judy Lawley as the last 2 on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm off there. But I think so. So I said, okay, I see what you're saying. No, I think Harrell's going to make it. So let me change. That's where I went wrong. I think Harrell and either Horn or Judy Lawley, you go light at one of those spots, and then you cut the one that made it for the other. You know what I mean? For the other spot tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Whoever makes it in these last hours is probably cut tomorrow, regardless. But I mean,
you guys don't care, but I just got confirmation that Bryce Oliver has officially made the 53-man roster, like 100% confirmed.
Nice. We were expecting that, but it's still nice to have it confirmed because it was not a guaranteed thing. Yeah, I think based on the math you just did, 4 waiver claims sounds right. The last 2 guys they keep here, an offensive lineman and Curtis Jacobs, all stick out to me as potential waivered people who get waived in order to make a claim. And again, I think they have 11 offensive linemen on the roster right now to try to hide one of these tackles that they're planning to stick on the practice squad, but they are afraid to lose them. I think that will do it for this. Thanks to all you guys for tuning in. Do you like Damari Matha? Is that what this says?
Damari Mathis. I think they could find better. Personally, in all honesty, I think they could find better.
Thanks for the coverage. You're welcome. Everyone, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks again to Sinkers Beverages for supporting this channel. I'll remind you guys while you're still here that Saturday is the last day you can get Justin's book in terms of the 2025 special edition re-release with the included gift of the player illustrated trading card Free shipping included in your order for $25. Titansofthesouth.com. Check it out. Check out sinkersbeverages.com to join the in-crowd as well for free and exclusive perks. They're also on Uber Eats, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville. We'll be back tomorrow, probably later in the day, because we are going to want to wait to get these waiver claims processed, and I don't think that happens until 3 p.m. Maybe it's 1 p.m.?
No, I think it's later. I think it's
later, too.
John,
so we'll see. Does shipping start this week? John wants to know.
Yeah, final question. What I was told from the publishers, it was starting yesterday. So I'll tell you what, I'll confirm that today, but I was told they were starting to go out yesterday. Now, going to take about a week to get through them all because you guys have really supported. And by the way, I just heard from them that like every single day we've seen a lot of orders ever since the 31st became the last day. Thank you guys so much. You're going to love the Cam Ward trading card. So glad you guys are going to get your hands on that by beating the clock. Correct, Andrew Rupsich waived. I reported that top-tier talent advisor. So, yes, listed live, I guess. I was first to break news that Andrew Rupsich was waived. But, yes, shipping was...
Oh, sorry. Here's one last question if we wanted to hit it.
Is there an advantage to making... no, I believe there isn't. In fact, it's probably a disadvantage because I would say it lessens your chances of getting picked up elsewhere because teams are going to start making, combing through the initial waves and make the decisions on who they want to add then. I think it actually hurts your chances a little bit and probably increases the chances that you're going back to your original practice squad.
Right. Ding, ding, David. All right, that'll do it for this one. Yes, books are shipping out soon, so if you get an email from the publisher, respond immediately to confirm your address so that you don't delay your own reward there. And we'll be back, like I said, tomorrow late, reacting to the final initial 53 and any waiver claims that we'll process between this afternoon and tomorrow. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. MCA Live, we went about 15 minutes longer than we were planning to. It would have been nice to get these last 4 cuts in, but we'll just have to react on Twitter. Justin will be tweeting all the news he gets, practice squad news, and further waivers. So follow Justin at JustinM_NFL. Of course, I'll retweet everything, but I'm not going to be breaking any news at Titans Film Room. Until next time, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.